Roll call, please.
Barr,
Here.
Giovanini,
Here.
Eckhoff,
Here.
Callis, Lee,
Here.
Hauser, Bradshaw,
Here.
Cranford,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
Willie.
Here.
Thank you. Moving into the agenda, the consent agenda, we have 3 items. If we've had a chance to peruse that.
I would motion acceptance of the consent agenda.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Scott. Roll call, please.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Cranford,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie.
Yes.
Thank you. On the regular agenda, we have an appointment to kick off. If we could have
Scott?
Scott step up for a moment, do a little intro for us.
Here.
Yes, sir.
For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Scott Schickel. I've been your municipal band director for, I don't know, about 10 years probably. I worked at the high school for 27 years before that, or during that time, I guess. I'm resigning the position. I've always said that when I was done at the high school, I was going to be done with the municipal band, so I'm stepping down. And I didn't have to search very hard, and I was very thankful that Seth Brown accepted the position after talking with all these guys. But the initial phone call was, you know, are you interested? Because it's a lot of time in your summer, and you give up you give up time from your family and just everything. So Seth is he started the municipal band in 2009 when he was in high school, between his sophomore and junior year, probably somewhere in there. He started in Graymont schools with Mrs. Schrock, and then he came to Pontiac Township High School. He studied with myself and Mr. Keith Schmink. We were happy to have him as a student. Wonderful person, wonderful student. Went on, he played in all of our bands in school, played everywhere, just did a fantastic job. District musician, all-state musician. Went on to Western Illinois University, where he got his degree in music education, and he taught at Cornell for a couple years, and then he got the job at Pontiac Junior High, where he's been since then, when Mrs. Ramsey retired. So he's a member of the community. He lives right here in town. I think he'll do a wonderful job. His father was in the municipal band in the 70s, he started. So it's a tradition we've all passed down through the years, and we're all kind of descendants of Dick Alderman, just indirectly, whether he was your student or not, somehow he got to us. So Dick was the band director for 47 years. I didn't quite make it that long, but that's okay. Seth, he has a chance. So please welcome him, and I'm very happy to introduce Seth Brown as the next band director for the municipal band.
Thanks, Scott. Seth, can you step up for a moment? Yeah, we're pleased to have you with us, and hopefully you will surpass Scott's tenure. And Seth Alderman might be a little bit far out of the reach, even for you, but
Bit of a
we're
stretch,
looking
yeah.
forward to it. So,
Thank you.
other than a motion, I think.
I so move.
Motion by John Willie,
second.
seconded by Jason. We'll do a roll call to get you voted in. Roll call, please.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Cranford,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr.
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Congratulations, Seth. We didn't applaud when Scott was promoted, by the way.
All right, they clapped with me at the last concert. It was good.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Moving on. intergovernmental agreement with the Cornell Fire Protection District.
Yeah, so we currently have an intergovernmental agreement to provide ambulance services between the city and Cornell. That agreement is set to expire, and fire chief has been in talks with them. And if you've been speaking with the fire chief lately, his voice is not up to par right now. But we've been taking a look at this agreement, and we believe that the agreement is still a good idea, and that it will benefit us and it will benefit Cornell. And then we discussed the rates, and so I initially took the CPI totals over the last 3 years that this contract was, and we came out really about to what was proposed by Cornell of $30,000. On the last page, you can see the proposal set to $30,000 for the next 3 years. So we would recommend that the council renew the intergovernmental agreement with Cornell. We've talked, and there will be no disruption of any of our services by providing this service to them.
Any questions for,
I do. Who's going to be Jake's administrative assistant for this contract?
pardon me?
Who's going to be the that's administrative assistant? Says on C.
So currently that is Stephanie Kennedy.
Okay.
She retires in August, and I'm in the process of doing an internal interview for that position. That will not be named until a later date.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we get many how much, the volume?
That's an excellent question.
I understand if you can't.
So when we started this contract, and I think it was signed in August of 2022, they were running about, on average, we did a 3-year average study. The median was about 44. It's up to about 90 calls now.
Oh.
So over a 3-year period. So that was the purpose of increasing the value from 19,500 annually to 30,000. After consulting with Jim, and he did his study, so that was a fair representation of the service we provide, and also looking at their budget, what they can afford.
Thanks, Chief.
I would motion acceptance of the intergovernmental agreement with Cornell.
That's a mouthful, but thank you.
Yes.
I'll just second it.
Okay. Motion by Kelly, seconded by Scott. Roll call, please.
Eckhoff?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Bradshaw?
Yes.
Cranford?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Willie?
Yes.
Barr?
Yes.
Giovanini?
Thank you. Moving on, Mr. Melvin
Yep.
is here with us. Jim, you want to tell us your proposal?
Sure. I'm going to call it our proposal. Chris has done a lot to help me with this. He's got computer skills I don't ever claim to have. So, but we'd like to replace the 1 ton that was damaged beyond repair last year. We took the dump box off the old truck. It was discovered that it was in much worse shape than we thought, the 2008. And with snow plowing and the salt and things, we felt that wasn't the way to go. We still have a 19-year-old box on a new truck. So in comparison with the street and sewer departments, we turned to the state bid for pricing, discovered and compared with options that are on the open market, as well as the departments realized there were options available for less money. We compared Ford and Chevy trucks similarly equipped and found a 2023 truck in Lansing, Michigan. It comes with the full factory warranty. It's brand new, even though it's a couple years old. And the joint purchasing price was $73,072. The LaFontaine Ford in Lansing, Michigan was $60,309. I believe, Jim, we budgeted $60,000, so we are $309 over.
We did, but we also left some money and budgeted in the cemetery land fund.
Okay.
And with this coming from your budget, we don't really have anything slated for that. So we can utilize that. Cover that.
We will also sell the old dump box along with the hydraulic cylinder and the hydraulic reservoir on gov.com. We hope to get,
Probably make
some,
a difference.
some money out of that, or maybe even a little more. So I would request permission to move forward with this purchase if that's your bidding.
Okay.
Any other questions for Jim?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Jason, seconded by Barb. Roll call, please.
Lee,
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
Cranford,
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Willie.
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini.
Yes.
Eckhoff.
Yes.
Thank you.
I was gonna say, you're moving really good, but I saw a little hitch there. Okay. Moving along, municipal tax, or municipal grocery tax ordinance.
Yes, last year, the state legislature, when they eliminated the grocery tax, they also authorized municipalities to pass their own 1% grocery tax. This is a separate tax than when they authorized the city to institute a 1% sales tax, in which the council elected to adopt and put toward infrastructure. We did not pass the grocery tax back then because the state's tax wasn't set to expire until January of 2026. And it gave us a little time to watch this play out to see if there were going to be any changes in that statute, or if the governor was going to make any amendments or anything like that. And at this point, nothing has happened. And so the grocery tax that we get, we make a little over $200,000 a year in unrestricted tax funds to the general fund that we use for a variety of purposes, filling gaps in salaries, city services, anything that we can use it for, anything that is not already restricted, such as tax levies for pension funds and things like that. So $200,000 is a big hole for the city's budget. And this tax that was eliminated by the governor, none of this money ever went to the state in the first place. All of it came back to the city. And so really he just eliminated a tax that didn't affect this at the state level any. So in our committee, it was recommended to move to the council for passage. And this is, as long as we have it into the Department of Revenue before October, it would take effect January 1 of 2026. So we would not start receiving any of this tax until after the state tax has dissipated. So for our residents, they would see no change. And behind this ordinance, I put some information in there about the history of that grocery tax and just some other information for the public to have. If there's any questions?
It's really just a swap of who is the legislative body that has this.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's a swap, and the only difference is when the state had the tax, the state took out administrative fees from that, and when they pass this tax, they won't take out any administrative fees, so we'll get all of it. I couldn't tell you how much the administrative fees were.
They're still collecting it for us, though,
Correct, yeah.
but not charging us back.
Yep, and so historic, in the past, the years and years ago, municipalities that were home rule that passed their own taxes had to collect their own taxes, and it was an administrative nightmare for the businesses because they're like, I have to file tax with the state, I got to file one with the city. Now the legislature handles all of those. Everything goes to the Department of Revenue. This won't be any different from that. It'll be collected exactly the same way it's collected now. The businesses will see absolutely no difference. They don't have to make any changes. Nothing. They won't notice a difference. Yeah, other than, it's still there.
Without any more questions, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion that we approve the tax.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Frank. Roll call, please.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Cranford,
No.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
No.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on, we have committee reports. Infrastructure Committee. Frank?
The Infrastructure Committee met on April 15th, and we discussed the side grant for the Miller property on Oak Street, and it was approved and recommended that we send it to the council for approval, which we did. Additionally, we discussed downtown parking issues, and that would take some realignment of the spaces to achieve what we want to achieve, and that would be put together with the street superintendent and the city engineer to do that.
All right. Finance and Administration, Kelly?
We met on the same night and reviewed the 1% grocery tax, had discussion on that, which we just voted on, spoke about the City Hall renovations, which I believe is later on our agenda as well, and had a conversation about a potential TIF redevelopment project in the 100 block of North Mill, just kind of throwing out the idea and to get a feel for the committee's. So that's a work in progress, and we'll have more on that later. And then we spoke about changes possibly to our neighborhood golf cart ordinances and the potential of adding higher speed vehicles. And so we had good discussion on it and pushed it back to the police chief for some review and possible changes. Also registration costs and inspection changes with that. So I don't know that we set a deadline on that, but we probably, at some point we'll get that back to us for more conversation.
Okay.
That was pretty much it.
Okay. Housing Study Special Committee.
Well, I'm happy to report that we finished off the housing stock survey dots on the map last Tuesday. Got pretty much the entire city canvassed with the exception of a few areas that we decided that probably wouldn't get us any bang for our buck, so we eliminated those in the interest of time. I mean, one thing I'm just going to side note, I think it would be, it was beneficial to me to get out and walk the streets of, because you drive down the streets of Pontiac, but you get a whole different perspective about the housing here by walking the sidewalks and really looking at what we have. We have many very well-kept properties. I would say the majority of the people in our community have pride in their homes, and the bad apples really just take out some blocks, detriment to those around them, so hopefully, but that was a side note. We also had a group of us who have been meeting with Paul Charnett, who is a architect from Bloomington, and he's very versed in downtown buildings and the upstairs renovation. And so we had another meeting last week with Paul and the fire chief and Greg Knowles about some changes that we can hopefully implement with regard to fire safety in those buildings. And it was a really, really great meeting with Paul, and I think we have a path moving forward, and hopefully we'll have some more stuff coming back to council after Greg has had a chance to go through building codes and potentially get some movement going in the upstairs buildings with some education to the building owners. And I think we're all kind of excited about where that might go out of this. So that's it.
Okay, super. I'm glad to see the program is moving on. I'm still working with State of Illinois.
Yes, in fact, Amy, they now will take all the mapping information that we got, and their mappers now will gather all the data together, and they'll come back to us. It will probably take a couple months, I would imagine, and then they'll schedule another community meeting where they'll present the results to the community of what all the information is that we found from that.
Okay.
But no dates yet.
Yeah.
It's all in their court. Right now, we just get to sit back and wait. So, from
And-
that standpoint, but
Yeah.
you got, you know,
Well, the ball is
Yep,
continuing
yep.
to move. Okay, very good. Moving on, City Hall facade project. I think Chris is here to give us some new info.
Rick's been busy getting some numbers put together for us, and we have some preliminary numbers which we provided to you tonight. This is pertaining mostly just to the outside, doesn't include any work on the inside as we're not ready for that yet. Exterior-wise, the siding is going to run around $14,500, which we would install. The paint, which we would anticipate contracting out, is going to be in the neighborhood of $12,000. Pricing we received for gutters ranged from $5,000 on the low end to $11,000 on the higher end, with the higher end being a seamless gutter versus a sectional gutter, basically was the difference from what I could tell in the pricing. So our estimated costs right now for what we wanted to start with is going to be between $31,500 and $37,500. Actually, it would be more. Sorry, that number's not right. But anyway, that's what we're looking at to start off with. Again, with this material here to go on this front corner on the west side. I would just need some input on color, is how we wanted to contrast it. If we wanted to use a gray siding and a lighter colored paint for the brick, or flip-flop it, use a darker color like we have across the street, and then the lighter color for the siding. Because that's kind of where we're at. We'd have to get the material ordered if you so want to move forward. So
A long overdue project.
yeah.
The prices
Yeah.
his pricing is well under the budget that we
Yeah.
had slated for this.
We put in quite a bit of money towards this, so all of this is well under that, which should allow money for some interior
Right.
renovations that need to be done too.
So is that color considered the darker or the lighter?
this was the darker gray that we matched to the building across the
Yeah.
street. And then if you notice, there's like a lighter creamer color.
Yeah.
So just which way,
I think if it matched the building.
I like
Yeah.
the dark with the lighter contrast, you know,
Yeah.
the dark.
use
that.
a
Yeah,
lighter color.
That's my 2 cents.
Yeah,
but-
me too.
Same here.
Yeah.
So make this a light color to do,
No,
No,
no, that,
this the darker for
Yeah.
that, okay.
just like, yeah,
Yep.
just like across the street.
And then the rest of the facade would be the lighter.
Yes.
right, yeah.
So that would be more,
This would be on the west side
right?
and this front corner, and the rest of the building would be the lighter color.
I like that color, that dark.
But the volume of the building would be
Right.
more painted than siding.
Correct,
So the volume of the color would be lighter
would be lighter.
if we
So
went
maybe
with the
reverse it,
opposite, maybe reverse it.
Yeah,
Yeah, the dominant color, I like the darker. it's
Yeah, I
more
think so,
dominant.
too.
yeah, and most of it'll, the
The
dominant
darker
will be
color is
painted.
dominant.
So do the paint in the darker, and this front and side, the lighter.
Yeah,
Yes. Well, and you probably could even match that color. What
We
was
could do the
painted
whole thing
across
in
the
one
street.
color too, if you wanted, or,
I like contrast, but I'm only one.
I like little.
I've
I
learned
mean,
in my
either way, I
life.
think it's gonna blend in with that
Yeah,
building.
it would
Not to
look
make
so
that
nice.
decision at home, so.
Don't.
When do you start and when do you finish? We'll actually start right away, taking the Mansford roofs off out in front. It's gonna kind of weigh in when the construction of the parking lot starts. So we'll probably work around what's going on there. Our goal is to have it all done before Rick retires, so
depending on how long it takes to get the material, but we intend to get on it right away.
So basically, tonight, we're going to approve the continuation and give him permission to order the material. That's what we're looking for right now.
Right.
So as far as color scheme goes, after we leave tonight, he'll know. So
Right.
if you have something to say, now would be the time to say what we're looking for. I think we should coordinate with the Public Safety Fire Department and
Right.
be
Yes.
in the same time, so. If we're all in agreement with that,
Yep.
we just need a motion to
Yes.
say,
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
okay, motion by Jason, seconded by Barb. Roll call, please.
Cranford,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Jovenini,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes,
Lee,
Yes.
Bradshaw.
yes,
Okay, dark paint, light siding.
right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks,
Don't
Chris.
forget before you get back to the chair.
Dominant dark.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Item G, facade grant for 309 North Oak Street, the Miller project.
Nate?
Hi, I
Nate?
think most of you know me. I'm Nate Miller. We purchased 309 Oak Street over here, which was the old Wolf Battery building. We're going to put more storage in there for our lawnmowers and whatnot, and we ended up painting the entire building and kind of fixing it up and making it look a little nicer. Well, I'm sure you know the Oak Street side's kind of an eyesore with all of it falling in and all the siding is falling off, and we were wanting to use Brett Graves to frame that all in and put some new siding in there. And we're going to need a new header put in there, kind of a support. And Pete Giovanni's going to supply the materials to do that. And then Tom Hogan from Bloomington is going to come in and put in a garage door for us. So we're kind of looking for, the total project cost is estimated around $25,400. So half of that is $12,669. So kind of looking to get that done to maybe make it look a little nicer.
Much.
Yeah, I think it's far overdue, so.
Yes, so this project, if agreed upon, the grant project would be $12,669.50. And as you all know, that's payable upon the completion of the project. And any permitting goes through zoning like it normally does. That would be nice to get that project, that property looking nice
Yeah.
from Oak Street.
I'll second.
Is that John?
Yes.
Motion by John, seconded by Scott. Roll call, please.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Jovenini,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes,
Lee,
Yes.
Bradshaw, Cranford.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question on facade grants. At infrastructure meeting a few weeks ago, which I missed, there was some conversation about some other facade grants that never came to council for vote. Did they get motion to not be approved, or?
No, they came to a vote the day we did the budget.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
We wanted to catch them
Got
before
it.
the budget
Yeah,
year.
got it.
Yes. So it's about 25th
That's
of
why.
March or whatever.
Okay.
it was, yes.
We still have money in the,
We have plenty still, yeah. As a matter of fact, that is good information to put out there, is that the facade grant for this year still has available money for those that are wishing to seek a facade grant.
in case the Millers are gonna buy a couple more buildings downtown.
Do some more work for that building. Do you lose that grant money if it's not used?
You have 6 months to complete the project?
You
Oh,
guys.
Like the excess, that's not.
oh, do we lose it?
Yeah.
No, yeah. Or held over.
So do you have any more buildings that you're planning to,
No, but that building still needs more work, so we'll see.
okay. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to Centennial Plaza, bid notifications.
That's not the one I want to talk about. So if you recall, we set the budget for Centennial Plaza. That project, PGAV got it bid spec, they went out for bids. The bids were due Friday at 10 a.m. We got one bid, it was from Opperman Construction. For the subtotal of the bid was $3,419,500. Well over double what the budget was. And in the meantime, I've since spoken to PGAV. They don't have any belief that our estimate is still out of line. And I've spoke to a couple of other contractors who said that the bidding was kind of fast, and they were having some hard times getting some bids back from electrical providers and some other contractors, and so they would have had to guess on some of those numbers, so they didn't submit bids at all. They felt that if we put it back out for bid, we may see better results. I don't know if that would hurt anything to put it back out, because they've already done part of the work on their own bids. And if they still come out too high, then, you know, we can speak again and look at alterations of the plan or whatever the council's will is on that. So I guess my recommendation would be to reject the bid and either go back out for bids, or if there's any discussion on if the council wants to change anything, then.
I would think it should go back out for bids.
What's our time frame that we're looking?
Well, the plan was to have the thing done by May of next year. Putting it back out for bid could jeopardize that, but in the end, if we get a good project and get everything that we need for what we're able to spend on it, if we're a little late, we're a little late. It's better than not having a project.
This number here was double, basically, you said?
Yes.
Yeah.
2.5.
Yeah, double,
Yeah.
or double plus,
That makes me
right.
What was it, 1.2, 1.4?
So when they said there wasn't
Yeah.
enough time to, I mean, how much, what is it? I
The
don't,
subcontractors.
There was so many, they said there was so many intricate pieces to it, because we had electrical running out to the sign, installing the sign that we got on our grant to the uprights, and then of course the tariffs came into play, and so there was
Yeah.
There's a little
That's
fear
what I'm
that they
told,
couldn't.
right.
seems like
Be
such
realistic.
a simple thing. Well, just because, you know, if we issued it February 27th and the issue, come back April 14th or April 18th, that's almost 2 months.
Well, it didn't actually get out until early March, so the actual bid docs didn't. That was the hope, was to get it out in February, but
I'm just
yeah,
reading.
right. It was out, I think, about a month.
Yeah.
And we talked long and hard about how to arrive at a budget.
Mhm.
And I know we kicked around a lot of different ideas and thought, and we knew that we were probably light in our budget, but not that light.
Yeah,
not-
PGAV still feels that the budget's solid.
Realistic.
Yeah, right. And on one part, Opperman, did tell me that, look, they just they weren't comfortable with the bid, but they also didn't want to provide the city with anything. So they wanted to at least have a bid. But I think they also understood that this would not be the final.
I think what we should do is sit down with Opperman and do some value engineering with them. And look at each part of the project and see what we can live with and what we can live without, and where they can.
I think the only downside to that would be, if we do that, we're then asking them to bid on it as well, and they may have an unfair advantage that way. I don't know.
Yeah, I think at this stage in the game, I think your only option is to simply reject the bid. And then I do agree with Jim, if you go start talking to them about the details and how much thought, I look at this bid and I don't know how much time and effort they spent to put it together. If we'd approved it, they'd probably be safe with their number. And I don't know if they did a real integrated bidding process in terms of evaluation of each component, like Frank's inferring. I don't know if that happened or not.
But isn't that what our architect should be doing, is the value engineering?
That's
Yeah,
what,
and like I said, and our architect believes that the budget we created is solid.
Yeah.
When I gave them the bid, they were like, that we feel like we're gonna go through these again, but we feel like this is nowhere near, our budget should be closer.
Well, it sounds like the consensus is that we need to put this back out for bid again, with, more detail.
Yeah, I will, since it's not on the agenda to go back out for bid, I will, we have a meeting coming up with PGAB to go through it, and then we'll have those discussions again.
Motion to reject the
you-
bid.
I
We
think-
haven't done that
yeah.
yet, but, I'm just,
But he's saying we didn't
Just
have on the
saying.
agenda to go ahead and relet it again.
yeah,
When
right.
was-
Just to evaluate the bid.
That we came up with our original estimate. What month was that? I don't remember. It was.
When we came up with the budget,
Yeah,
oh boy, it's probably been,
Last summer.
yeah.
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 We've
And when
been
did they
working on
say
it for a
was
year,
pretty-
and so it started off higher, and we made changes and got it down
It was a
to,
while ago, but I thought it was fall, but summer makes
Yeah.
sense too, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when did they say that our estimates are realistic? That was pretty recent, right?
That's what the architect
it
says.
was-
Like recent?
yeah, Friday afternoon, they told me
Okay,
that,
yeah,
so.
yeah, it was pretty recent, okay.
We're not
Have to have a
rejecting this bid
No,
now?
they're gonna,
We're gonna,
we need a motion to reject the
Right.
bid,
Okay.
but
That's
not
what
a
I
motion to
reject.
rebid
I'll
it yet
second.
because we're not quite ready.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'm sorry, I heard Bradshaw, and then what was the other? Howard? Yes.
we have a motion to reject this bid. Motion then seconded. Roll call, please.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Bradshaw. Yes. Cranford,
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, mayor's comments. I had a conversation with Bill Callis today, and he had gotten out of his house a little bit, but he just wanted to wish everybody had a happy Easter, as he did, and he's looking forward to continuing to improve and wishing great success for the city in the future. I also had a conversation with Chris about Clary Street Gardens. He says they're already well in progress, and there will be gardens on Clary Street again. There's a few other projects that are coming down the pipeline here, but we have quite a bit to go through. As most of you know, this is my second to last council meeting, so I'll save all my really nasty comments for the last one, okay? But I had a meeting today with the mayor from Lincoln, short meeting as he was up here on a tourism issue and different things. And the one point I tried to create to him was, it's great to have all these departments and everything, but it's really the people that run them that make them successful, the staff and the heads of the departments. And I believe that wholeheartedly for the entire city. So, but I'll talk more on that next time. City council comments.
Well, I was looking through the minutes on, we had financing Centennial Plaza on our December 16th meeting, 2024, so we had already, that's the last time we talked about it on the agenda.
And I noticed on your staff update, there's still something going on with the water over at Riverside Mobile Home Park. Are you gonna address that?
No.
Apparently the water's being shut off again over at the park.
I'm not aware of
So
that.
those, I can't verify that. we've just heard that maybe there's some outstanding debt owed to the water company. It's not an us thing. It's happening over there. We have still been trying to contact the owner. We've heard that maybe that owner's coming this week to the park, and if that's the case, we plan to meet with them to discuss all the issues that we've had there. And those issues have been the low water pressure, and they're under a boil order from the IEPA out there, so that needs to be addressed as well.
Yeah, we've all spent a lot of time on this thing. I've tried multiple times to contact the owner, contact State of Illinois Department of Public Health Environmental Department, Livingston County Health Department, the Champaign County Health Department, and they're supposed to have the jurisdiction to regulate mobile home parks, manufactured home parks. And a couple weeks ago, we reached out to Representative Tipsford's office to see if they could find a contact person who would at least call us back, because I haven't got any response to emails and calls, period. And as of today, no word back. We sent them our entire file. The Illinois American Water thing is one thing, but they have a massive sewer bill backlog as well. And they've got a shut-off notice from the city that would expire in a few days, but we have to decide what we do with that. But anyway, the water leak has certainly not reduced their sewer bill.
Right.
So I can't look at the statute. We've got our own statutes on public safety, but the jurisdiction to enforce codes in manufactured home parks lies primarily with the state of Illinois, the way it looks in the statute. And nobody seems to have an interest. In fact, I did speak to somebody from Livingston County, and they were concerned that if we push too hard, residents might lose their home. And they thought it was drastic for us to push that hard. And I said, well, it's drastic for them not to have sufficient water to live. You know, live under a boil order, under 10 pounds of pressure, that's not doing very much. And we need to make the owner accountable. There's a procedure for that. And they're supposed to have annual inspections, and we can't even determine whether the mobile home park is even registered with the state of Illinois to get inspected. They are not on the state website.
I mean, they're paying somebody, right? Who collects their money? They've
got a manager, or did have a manager, and supposedly have a new manager.
They do, yeah. That we've heard
Can't you get that person in here?
Well, the manager, so it's my understanding that they pay their bills to Florida where the owner is.
Wow.
They pay to Florida? Is that what you said?
To the company that owns the mobile home park. Right?
Yeah, it's an LLC. That the manager of the LLC is an attorney in Florida. His telephone answering service says, the message says, the best way to contact them is to send an email, which Greg has done and I have done, and no response. But it's an expensive problem. And they own 2 mobile home parks. And we just came to our attention, when they acquired Riverside, they also acquired Sandy Creek.
And where's that?
And
Next to the
that's
VFW.
over
I mean, it's
down on Lincoln
building,
Avenue.
just west of it.
And there's only 5 occupied
5 occupied there,
there.
right.
And 2 of those have blocked sanitary sewers. One of which is disconnected from the sewer so it wouldn't back up into the house. And presumably it's just flowing onto the ground or under the home or wherever a disconnected pipe ends up, which is not positive either. So, and our plumbing inspector, Eric Reentz, who is extremely diligent, is pulling his hair out like I would be if I had any. You know, it's just.
How many homes are on Water Street at that park?
We're talking about Sandy Creek.
Sandy Creek has 5.
Yeah, how many's on water?
The other one.
There's a good,
Riverside.
I walked that whole thing during our
They have
street
like
walk. And
50 units out there, but
Yeah.
probably 30 of them might be occupied.
And there's more than 5 at Sandy Creek, just only 5 occupied.
Only 5 occupied, yeah.
There are
At least
many-
that's,
there
they
are
did
many
a
in
door-to-door out there
Yeah,
to
we
see
went
who
door to
was
door at
having,
Sandy Creek.
to see who was having sewer problems and who wasn't. Because there was some thought of trying to use the city Vector to open up a main line, and then it appeared that that wasn't a possibility.
There was no clean out for us.
What
to
are the
access.
residents of this park saying now?
Well,
They're complaining.
typically the residents, like Alan said, they're concerned about their homes. So they don't say a lot to us because they're worried we're going to legislate them out of a place to live. So, but the ones that initially, when we got the attention brought to us, they had no pressure. And the mobile home park at that time, we were able to contact. They sent Edelman out there, and Edelman said, yeah, there's a leak, but we think there's another leak, but we were only paid to fix this one. And the next leak, they weren't going to do the work unless they were going to get paid. And that, since that point, there's been zero contact with anybody in ownership.
Well, I think there's got to be a legal way. We need to do a legal letter to that owner, whether.
Well, I haven't sent a postal letter, but I've sent the quote legal letter by email, which they said was their best way to contact them. I don't know if it makes any difference to send it by snail mail. You know, send it to them, and we're presuming they get it. You know, click the link from his website. So we've done that, and
What's the next step to get their attention? I mean,
well,
do we
I
have
would
to take them
really
to court?
like
Do
the
we have
state
to?
to do what it's supposed to do.
Okay, that's,
And I haven't given up on our representatives' efforts. Everybody seems to be afraid that if you take any serious steps, these people will just be ejected. And they don't want to be responsible for that. We don't necessarily want to be, these are people's homes. And people that are there, a lot of times are exhausted about most of the other alternatives. And they're paying significant money. If they could all get together and follow the landlord-tenant law, you know, they could notify the landowner, say, we're not paying our rent, we're gonna use our rent money to fix this. And give the owner notice, but they're not type of folks you're gonna be able to organize into striking on their rent. So for the reason Jim said, it's their home. They have nowhere else to go if this goes away. And we did see, there's always been the approach in these places where they ostensibly were selling the manufactured home. They would have an agreement where they're paying a payment on the home. We actually did get from one of the occupants a copy of a true lease from the previous owner that they're still operating under. Most of them they're going to say, hey, they're buying this on contract, it's their problem. Although, so I haven't given up on the prospect of getting some outside help, but ultimately, and I assume I have your support, that if I have to file litigation under our own ordinances, that whatever happens, happens.
That's
You know,
located in Ward
It's not going to
1.
be cheap because we got a guy in Florida I got to try to get service on.
That's in our ward, Frank, in my ward. And those are our constituents, and some of those people actually probably voted for me this year. So I would like to see something done there.
We've been all over it. I mean, it's been, in the last 3 weeks, I probably devoted close to a total of nearly a day of time between talking to city folks, getting the documentation, talking to the rep, emailing the rep, trying to call people, doing some research, on the law.
So would it be state public health that has the responsibility to enforce that, or county public
State,
health?
state
So
public
go
health,
through
it's
the
Department of
state-
Environmental
like a pool
Services. They
inspection
regulate
in the
that.
They
state.
license through the Department of
They're
Public
supposed to inspect, they license through the State Department of Public Health.
Right.
State Department of Public Health is supposed to do an on-site inspection at least once a year. And if you go online and look at their owner's handbook, the owners do have some rights to take action themselves. So, but nowhere does it say municipality. It talks about the state bringing something or the county state's attorney, who I haven't talked to yet.
That would maybe be the next step.
It is, that's one of the things we're talking about, but, you know,
Have you
I,
been able to get a hold of anybody at State Public
not at
Health?
all, not, I mean, probably called 6 or 7 times the number as Environmental Services has it, and email, they say the best way to contact them is by email too, and that didn't work, which is why I contacted our state rep.
Well, then I want those contacts. Give me those contacts.
I can give you those
Give me those
contacts, they're
contacts,
easy.
and I'll make those
They're all
calls.
over the website. Mike, they're all over the website, they're on the
Yeah, no,
the
I want those
propaganda
contacts.
that's on the
State's attorney
website.
too, as far as that
Huh?
goes.
How much does Edelman want to fix the
Well, I don't have a clue, because that's not between us and him, but it's, you know, it's probably a big project where everything is, and according to Eric,
By the amount of the
the
sewer
pipe,
bill, it's a decent leak.
it's a big leak. And I think that the service line is, Eric thinks it's probably undersized anyway, without a leak. Maybe he said 2 inches, maybe, I don't remember what he said.
And if we fix it without an inspection to make sure that now you're taking somebody else's job.
No, we were willing, we had a long talk about the sewer problem, about if our guys with the Vector could solve the problem, just go on site and do it. And we all approved that until Brad got out there and said it's not doable.
Right.
And, you know, our folks, whether we just go on and saying the city should hire somebody to fix it. Because, you know, it's thousands, I'm sure. Every time you dig a hole, you know, it's thousands.
No, and now you're having taxpayers pay for something that is somebody else's responsibility, and then we're getting into a situation that's really beyond our control.
It is very, very difficult. And the ultimate, I hate to use the word slumlord, but that's what they're acting like.
Oh, yeah.
Is he paying his real estate taxes?
Excuse me?
Is he paying his real estate taxes?
Yeah, but that's, as I recall, they're paid up, but that's not a real large bill, because the mobile homes sitting on there are not taxed as real estate.
Right.
Right.
They
Just
get
the land, just the land.
The mobile
He
home.
isn't in arrears on that.
I haven't checked the homes, but I'm pretty sure it said the bill was paid by Peak Communities or whatever, Lighthouse Community 5 or whatever it is. But even if they didn't, you're 2 or 3 years away from, they paid, according to the assessor's records, the owner paid $1 million for these 2 parks. So they've put a lot of money, and probably didn't write a check for $1 million. And I talked at one time when one of the problems first came up, I talked to the attorney that represented them on the purchase. You might know her, former person in your office, and she could not help us with contacts or get results either. You know, she just handled a purchase, she just handled a sale. Not her job to police it.
So it sounds like public health, state public health and state's attorney then would be the only
And-
next steps.
Yeah, and we're gonna follow our leads on this owner maybe coming. Like I said, we have contact that there might be a new manager out there. But 2 things, we don't want to get the manager fired before they have the opportunity to help. And so we wanna, you know, kind of kid glove it that way and be compassionate toward the residents that are there. So if we can get the owner and serve him with all the violations that we have, at least that way we'll have a contact and we can try to move forward. So,
And by the way, it was all I could do to keep my mouth shut when we had the health department people here last meeting about this. Because one of those, the one that told me we're being drastic, we're gonna lose those people their homes.
Well, we are working with Tip Sword.
We
and,
are. And Deb over there, I mean,
We do have.
they've asked me, I've given them everything they've asked for. I don't know if you get a chance to talk to them for a follow-up. I thought maybe if something came from the mayor or Jim, maybe they would move it quicker than it coming from me. But we are trying, but it's one of those cases where even if we file a suit, you know, we're starting a months-long process. We're not solving a problem immediately. And, you know, we've been, over the years on these type of issues, we've done a lot of different techniques to work with people to try to get some semblance of a resolution quicker and without, you know, the litigation part of it. Because you get litigation part, the judge might just shut it down, say it's uninhabitable.
Good point. I will contact Representative Tipsword and our Senator Bakuma.
But if I have not directly contacted Balkema.
Yeah.
I've only contacted.
I've called him several times. He hasn't had time to call back. But,
Okay.
but I will call both of them.
But you get an answer when you call Representative's office.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for volunteering.
And Mike, I will email you some of the stuff I've got in my computer folder, which is mostly stuff off the state website and the statute. And there's phone numbers on there.
Anything else from the city administrator?
Just a couple things on a good note. The Easter egg hunt that Parks did had great attendance and a lot of fun out there. Friday, April 25th, this Friday, is the open house for the outgoing city officials, all of whom have spent significant time serving the city. That open house is from 4 to 6 p.m. Information's on the city's Facebook page on that as well. And and the other thing I was just going to mention is you had brought up the community gardens, and the information I just want to make sure the public knows is if you're interested in one of those spots, just call City Hall and talk to Johnny or Melinda, and they'll make coordination with Chris on what your plot will be. So, looking forward to another good year of community gardens.
Public comments. Anything from the public? Not you, Rob. Okay. Hearing none, then we have a duly made motion and we're adjourned. Thank you.